All right, we about to get into one of my top favorite topics, and that's the education system here in the U.S. So, without further ado, let's get to it.
Many years ago, I was elected to my local school board while I was in law school. I was the youngest elected school board member in the history of Pennsylvania at the time. I saw it then, but now it's 1,000 times worse. And I'm very happy to have with us the founder of American Parents Coalition.org, former chief of staff to the Air Force Secretary, and that would be Alleigh Marré. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. You put out every now and then this report. It is a scathing report, a look at what's taking place and so forth. So tell us what you have found, because I went through it and it is repulsive what's going on in our classrooms. And these two massive, radical left wing, incredibly wealthy unions are largely responsible for it, right?
That's correct. So what we found, unfortunately, is, as you said, these two unions have a very large amount of power. They spend tens of millions of dollars on political efforts every election cycle. They spent $43 million on their political efforts since 2022 alone, and none of that is getting directed back into the classroom or even to our teachers.
Yeah, you see already 42 million. Like, I don't mind spending taxpayer, I don't mind paying taxes, to go help to schools, and I don't mind paying money or donating in general, to help with schools. But that's the thing about it, and that's the problem I think most people have here in America. It's like, where's our money going? Like where is the money that we spend, to fund these schools, to help fund these schools? Where's the money going? Like like where's this all going? And they're saying that they spend it. They're spending this money on political or for political reasons, right? Like what? So our taxpayer money, our taxpayer dollars that go to help these unions, these teachers, right? These schools, they're using the money to promote their political interests. Like, how does that even make sense, man? You feel me? And our schools are just failing, right? You see all these low test scores, like people are wondering why they don't want their kids, to go to school. People are wondering why the trend of homeschooling is going up. It's like, yeah, we got to figure something out, man. And the government has not been good. It has not been good to us. It has not been good to us at all. You know, like I understand school is where your kids spend most of your time. I understand that, which is why we put so much emphasis on how we think our children should be, you know, taught in schools. I mean, it's that simple, but when you're going around spending millions upon $42 million just for political reasons that you could be putting into these schools, into these programs, trying to help fix these, because this shit has been going on for way too long. This isn't like it's been something new, and I feel like people have just been sitting there, just just waiting for more shit, more stuff to hit the fan. I don't know.
The national discussion for a long time has been about how our teachers aren't receiving the support and the funding that they need to be able to do a good job. And here's this organization that purports to serve our kids and our teachers, and they're out trying to receive their political power and to have big influence instead of making sure that the next generation is prepared for the real world.
Right, bro. And like I've seen so many teachers, so many videos of teachers talking about how they quit or how they're wanting to quit. Right? Where is the support? Where is the pay for these? I've never understood. I mean, I'm 29, right? I haven't been here long in the world, but I've never understood why why teachers don't get paid, a lot, you know, or you have underqualified people getting paid a lot, But it's like, why aren't we? Where's the supports for the teachers? Where's the pay raises for the teachers? I've always thought that, right? Teachers are the bedrock, the foundation of of our children, of the future of America, right? And I don't understand why people like this should be taking so much. This should be like a major talking point from the president, in my opinion. Is the education system, our education, our kids, right? But we can't. How do we expect to help when we're not even supporting the teachers, right? We're not supporting the teachers. But then I'm gonna digress real quick, and I'm gonna peel a layer back, right? Because it's not even really the teacher's fault, right? If your child can go home, or if your child can go to school and behave, act like children, be respectful, I guarantee teachers wouldn't be the job wouldn't be as stressful. It's a lot easier to teach kids when they're listening, right? But all this is just home training, right? Because we also need to have parents be accountable too, like we do. We need accountability, right? And this is exactly why I have a problem with, you know, right? Well, just teachers need accountability, right? And this is look like whatever the excuse may be, whatever your reason may be, there shouldn't be no reason why your children do not know how to behave or act, right? And I mean, like we can have these programs, we can have these school programs, we can have after school programs, we can have daycare, childcare, whatever, but like if the parents aren't doing anything to actually teach their children, how to behave, how to speak respectfully, not to bring your phone, not to be mad, not to try to fight, like teach your children the right thing, then maybe you wouldn't have like a lot of these issues would go away. These schools need to be more strict. There shouldn't be no phones. Kids shouldn't be recording in school. It's just that simple. It's that simple. I get it. Times are moving ahead. Like we got to keep up with the times, but there are some things we have to stay by the book by, and that's our education, right? We need kids to be writing with pencils and pens on paper, not tablets and laptops and computers. There's literal science behind this stuff, right? There's science behind writing things down. There's a reason why they tell you to journal. It's crazy, like, because all these problems that people have are like, there are simple solutions that you hear every day. Really, it's just simple things that you can do every day. You know, but I don't know. People, I don't know I don't know. People are just lazy. They're just too. I don't know, man.
And as a parent myself and the organization that we run, parents are extremely frustrated with the current state of education. And that's why we sat down and did a big deep dive into these two organizations and how could this be happening with these two organizations that have so much resources and their bench is so deep for what they have, and they are just not using it for the appropriate efforts.
Exactly. And like, where is it going? I swear, we need like we need like a receipt, like a trail. We should be able to actually go back and see. I mean, and when I say we, I mean like actual we as citizens, right? We should be able to go online and see how they're spending our tax, like how they're spending the money, our tax dollars. How the Department of Education is spending it. How are these other government programs that use our tax dollars, to help or as help. Like we should be able to see where that money is going. There should be a trail. If it's our money that we're paying into these schools, how come we don't get a say so? We can't even look and see what's going on. Like that blows my mind. And then later on you hear things like this, and they're talking about 42 million dollars, going to for political gain or for political reasons. Like what? Like what? And you got Deshaun, Raekwon, Lincoln, Miles, and 8 other kids over there who can't read, biting the chairs. Like, come on, man. Come on.
And at the beginning of the whole process here, they get the resources from we, the American people, paying real estate taxes, enormous amounts of taxes that go into these entities in the name of education.
Yeah, and if you live in South Carolina, I know y'all seen that. Man, bro, I just got my monthly paper, for like my the mortgage I pay. Man, I tell you how much, man, taxes, bro, education, waste, sewage, like all, like, bro, like, man, it's wild. But we're saying that again, though, right? It's our tax dollars, right? We're paying more and more into this, and our schools are corrupt. Not all. I'm not gonna say all our schools are corrupt, but the ideology behind our schools, or the ideology that are being placed into these schools, behavioral issues, no accountability, like there's a bunch of factors that are playing into why our education system is just going to crap.
Education, two-thirds, three-fourths of which, depending on the school district, go to the teachers. A big chunk of their dues go to the unions, and that's how these unions are funded. They're monopolies. They're funded by people who own homes and commercial real estate and so forth. And if you don't pay it, you lose your home and you lose your property. That's quite a funding source. And you get into this and you say,
Yeah, right. If we don't pay these taxes, we don't got a house, right? We don't have a house. Let that sink in. But we put our children in a school system that fails them, right? Like I said, right. And then me personally, like I said, I don't even think that it's just fully the school part. I mean, yeah, like the things that are being taught in the schools, yes, the teachers' wages, things that they have to go through, and not getting compensated, yes. The 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 money, that is being spent towards, political reasons, yes. Like all these issues that are going on, yes, there are issues that we need to address, but the underlining issue too that'll help, you know, is parents at home. We cannot skip over that. Like people, we hear these talking points about our education system, and yes, we want to change and we need to change it. It needs to be done, okay? But we also need to understand the fact that a good way to help teachers with their job, a good way to help our fellow Americans, our citizens, our residents, our neighbors, is to make sure our children are well fit for society by the time they're being put out there, i.e., going to school.
it's not only that they're involved in politics, they are involved in the most radical kind of left wing politics and indoctrination that can take place, correct?
Absolutely. So teachers and our school system have a captive audience in our children for 8, 10 hours a day. And so our kids are sitting in these classrooms, they love their teachers, and the teachers are feeling this immense amount of pressure in the curriculum that's being provided to them and what they're supposed to be teaching and the content that they're supposed to be providing to children. And then on top of that, anytime that a parent does stand up and step forward and say, hey, I have an issue with this curriculum or with this thing that you're teaching my kids or these books that are available in the classroom or in the library, the parents are then demonized. And instead of the schools and the districts finding ways to work together with families to resolve this, much of the time the teachers unions step in and they're providing all of this guidance and these resources on how then to subvert parents. One example that we pulled and we have in the report from the NEA handbook, specifically talking about transitioning students who may think their identity is different than their biological sex. In there, they explicitly say that any communication with the parents needs to be considered and approved essentially by the student because parents might, quote, react negatively. So here,
Okay, of course, of course. Like what parent wouldn't? And see, like that's one of the issues, right? Is like these ideologies that they're pushing, and again, hate to be political, but we live, politicals run the world, politics run the world, right? These liberal, progressive, far left ideology, right? They're pushing it into the schools. They're pushing it, and the average American doesn't want that, right? We want our children, right, to grow. Like it's okay for Sarah to be a tomboy, right? It's okay for Sarah to like dirt bikes. It's okay for Sarah, to want to play football with the boys. It's okay if Sarah likes the color blue, right? That doesn't mean that you go and you talk to her about being another like that. That's just wild. Like it's hard to even like say something. Like how can you do that? right? And then the fact that it's being pushed out there, so like it's almost like it's like another option, and then especially when you have children who can't understand, right? They don't really understand fully all these things, right? I'm not like, come on, oh, I don't have to be a helmet, or I can be a they do it, I could be a dog, woof, like what, like bro, and like they're children. You wouldn't trust your children to do anything. You wouldn't trust your child to drive a car. You wouldn't trust your children to cook, depending on their age, But young children, you wouldn't expect them to be able to cook, right? You wouldn't expect them to be able um, uh, to handle an emergency, the way we would. Like you just wouldn't expect a lot from your children, right? So how would you be able to expect them to understand the complexity of this, right? Then the fact that you're putting them in a school, somewhere they need to be educated. This is why I truly believe like parents really need to take action. Like somebody, like if you can't do it and you're working, have your niece go up there, have your cousin, your aunt, someone who has maybe the time, have them go up to the schools and like see what their curriculums are, like see, like go to these like what are these? I think like PTA meetings or something, like or like the after school, the meetings or the monthly meetings, go to those and try to see, like the things that are going on inside the school that you're putting your children into. And this is why I think politics is important, right? Because you need to be able to understand the world around you, right? You want to be able to understand, you want to make sure that you're in a state, a city, a county, town, whatever, village, that fits your values, right? You do. Those are decisions like when people decide they want to move, or people decide, they want to take this step, and go up a level in a job, or, apply for a different job, like they take those serious, right? Right? Because those are life changing decisions. Where you live, I get everybody may not be able to pick up and go, but you can at least learn the system that you live in, be able to understand it, could know what you're getting yourself into and how to maneuver, you know there are ways to do things. It's just, and I understand people just don't have a respect. They don't trust the government. So why participate in something that's already rigged, right? I get the sentiments. I get it. I get why people believe that, but they shouldn't believe that, because the more people, the more community members, the more we have out there pushing for, like what we truly want and believe, then these lefty lunatics won't be able to put a blanket over the country and how our children will be learning and raised. Because your kids spend 8+ hours, like, well, yeah, 8+ hours in school. You know, like she said, like we love our teachers. You feel me? And the teachers love their students. But there's a lot of things going on in play, that are not benefiting either side.
They are very, very fundamental decisions on the identity of your own child. And these schools are being counseled by the NEA and the AFT to not even talk to parents. There is no one who is going to be a better advocate, care more, and love their child than a parent. And so for school districts, school boards, teachers unions to try and stand in the way of that relationship is just unbelievable and is totally unacceptable. And these are things that are coming down from the top, from these teachers unions, direct into the schools.
When we come back, so we have this going on in the K through 12. We have going on in colleges and universities, foreign money coming into these universities. You have tenure of these radical Marxist Islamist professors. So basically, the entire educational system is owned by the radical left, the unions, the faculty, foreign money pouring in, billionaire money pouring in, taking our money, the taxpayers, where we pay property taxes and a lot of property taxes funding this. No accountability to us. In fact, as you just pointed out, parents are the enemy. Parents need to be misdirected or quieted somehow or some way.
Yeah, so you see, man, this is exactly why we need to, just take this more serious, right? We need to take it more serious.